So the fatwa was issued here in London, and it's been gaining a lot of buzz. It's been posted on the internet. There's a very small English translation available. But what everyone wants to know is it going to make any difference from those who are radicalized? I want you to hear now some of the voices from the streets of London.
To be honest, maybe it is helpful, but I don't follow anybody of them, so it doesn't affect me anyway.
Suicide, it's not allowable in Islam at all, so definitely.
And do you think it's time that somebody finally stood up and said so?
Well, I think people have been standing up and saying for long, they just have not been getting much media.
I think what one needs to do is basically resolve the many conflicts, and that would help.
Even a fatwa they may not listen to.
Not if they really think that suicide bombing is the right way to make jihad.
Now, you know, there is some skepticism, but counterterrorism officials here in Britain have told me that this is what they have been waiting for. They're saying that this kind of sentiment issued through a fatwa can embolden communities to stand up to some people who say that violence and that terrorism is allowed in their religion and in the Quran. They say that this is the beginning of a long dialogue and a process, something that they believe has been missing for years now. Paula Newton, CNN, London.
Here in Islamabad, Pakistan, many have already heard about this fatwa that essentially says if you commit a suicide attack, if you kill innocent people in the name of God, you're going straight to hell. But in the rural areas of Pakistan, where many don't have TV or the internet, it'll probably take a while longer before word spreads. Analysts say the key is for local religious leaders to spread the word in their Friday sermons and their mosques. But many say this fatwa can only help in convincing young, impressionable minds that the Quran doesn't condone violence.
In Quran, it's written that if you are going to suicide, the scholar is right. You go to the hell.
I think people who have some sort of religious authority in our society have a lot of influence on people, so people will take what they have to say more seriously.
Because Qadri is a scholar, a religious scholar, and he is very authentic also. He is not a common man, and his political affiliations are also such that the people will hear to him, listen to him carefully.
I'm Anna Koren in Jakarta. Well, here in Indonesia, the most populous Muslim country in the world, this fatwa against terror and against violence certainly resonates with the overwhelming majority of Indonesians. Now, the reason being is because this is an exceptionally moderate Muslim country where acts of terror and violence are considered abhorrent. Now, even among the more extreme and radical groups, there seems to be a push away from violence. Jemaah Islamiyah, for example, the homegrown extremist organisation whose members are allegedly responsible for a series of bombings, including the Bali bombings of 2002, which killed 202 people. There has been a push away from violence. One analyst that we spoke to, she said that there's been actually a directive for a more passive route, that violence has actually been counterproductive to their cause. Now, a fatwa here in Indonesia doesn't necessarily hold a lot of weight for the majority of Indonesians, but the people that we have spoken to say that it is a step in the right direction and it's a good start. What they'd like to see is for imams and preachers to use this fatwa, this message in their sermons, in their teachings, so that this message can be spread right around the country.
I'm Arwa Damon in Baghdad. A fatwa issued by a religious scholar in London is frankly not going to have much of an impact on terrorism here. For years now, though, imams in Iraq have been preaching against violence. Even amongst the most conservative of religious leaders is the message that the killing of innocent civilians goes against the very principles of Islam. Al-Qaeda, though, follows its own scholars that dictate its members' actions, scholars that legitimize the brutal killings of civilians, even the killing of Muslims. Al-Qaeda, though, has lost a lot of its support here. It has become hugely unpopular because of the beheadings, the sheer brutality of its actions, and the mass killings. It has fully alienated the majority of its supporters amongst the Sunni population, going so far as to eventually have some of them turn against the organization.